Welcome back to another Conscious Energy Officer show. I'm your host, Grant Parr, with my two co-hosts, Graham Betchart and John Costanzo. What is going on, fellas?
What's up, Grant? What's up, John? How you guys
Going
doing?
on?
Doing good.
Great.
Well, welcome everybody. This is the Conscious Energy Officer Show. Like Grant said, we've built this show for police officers. This is exactly for you. And we are mental performance coaches who teach a certain skill set. And we want to make sure that every officer has access to these skills. These skills have changed my life, Grant's life, John's life, and everything we do. And we're here to share it. You'll hear us talk about 4 foundational skills all the time. We have a whole bunch of skills, but there's 4 we'll talk about all the time. The first one is what's important now. And that's about focusing on what's in your control. So often in life, we focus on shit we can't control, and it completely derails all of our confidence, all of our effectiveness. So what's important now? The first thing we do is we narrow our focus to what's in our control. The second skill we work on is what we call playing present, or in this case, policing present. And that means be where your feet are. Learn to be in the moment you're in. I'm sure you've heard this language at this point. Everyone's talking about being in the moment. We really work on that, putting our energy, our intention into the present moment and enhancing that skill. The third skill we work on is, let's face it, being present is hard. So next play speed means how fast can I bounce back? When I lose my focus, can I bounce back? And this is the grittiness, the resiliency. This is mental toughness. Mental toughness is that ability to bounce back when you leave the present. Let's say the present, maybe he's going to feel kind of vulnerable. So you're like, get me the hell out of here. I don't want to feel any feelings with John and Grant and them. But then you say, wait a second, this is where it's at. So next play speed is coming back. So think about that. Next play speed, how fast can I come back? And our fourth skill you'll hear us talk about all the time is what we call palms down. Palms down is the opposite of this. There's something happening. I'm reacting. No, I'm going to choose my response. Where's the camera? There it is. Whoop. I'm going to be cool and calm under pressure and choose my response. We have to be palms down in a lot of situations in life. And so those are the 4 skills you'll hear us talking about all the time. And we intertwine them with John's stories. John brings up some great topics for us. And we kind of go through our skill set and kind of figure out how does this stuff work on the topic. And John, I think you have a great topic today. I truly do. I think this one may be like, I don't know, this might be the most important one because I think it's absolutely true for police officers, but this is a human thing that you're going to talk about. And I think we can all really relate to.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to see you guys as always. Today's pressure point, we're going to talk about the journey. And I think that, this is extremely important in, like you said, with everybody. Cops, I hear it all the time. They talk about retirement, something traumatic happens at work, something that's not so sexy. And then it just goes to, oh man, only got a couple more years left. But, as we know, what we talk about, just like some of the skills that you just talked about, being in the present moment, all the magic happens here in this moment. So yeah, I wanted to bring up the journey and then just talk about it between you guys and go from there.
Yeah. This is really powerful because when you think about our second skill being present, right? Here's where it really comes into play because the journey, if we're thinking about, I've got to get to the end. I can't wait till I get to this moment in the end. And once I get there, everything's going to be okay, right? That's a common thing people go through. Oh man, once I get this paycheck or once I get to this job or once I retire, then everything will be okay. And then people get to that moment and it's not fucking what they thought at all. And they realize they're in that moment, then worried about what's going to be next. And you're always in the state of thinking it's somewhere else. So this is so crucial that we take that energy, our drive, and we strive to arrive. Instead of striving to be somewhere else, we actually strive to be right where we are. You know what I mean? And there's this thing in our culture that everyone is running to the end. I mean, Grant and I, we made a song called Walk to Win. I mean, that's our 8th principle in Max Conscious. Excuse me, not the 8th principle. That's our 6th principle. It's 8. Okay, 8th principle. And Walk to Win is the counter of I've got to run to the end. No, you don't. The end of this is the same for all of us. We're all going to die one day. And in the meantime, how present can we be? How here can we be? That's like John said, that's where the magic is. But this counters some of the stuff we see in society, right? Everyone's trying to get to retirement, right? Isn't that real? Everyone's trying to, everyone's like, oh, once I get here, then life will be joyous somehow, right? Somehow it'll be joyous in the future. That's an illusion. That's a trap. I can't tell you how many basketball players I've worked with that were like, Graham, I gotta get this paycheck. You know what I mean? Like once I get that big contract, then everything's gonna finally be okay. In my mind, I'm like, you're full of shit. But I don't say that, right? Because sometimes you can't stop someone from that.
Right.
They go get their big paycheck. We talk a day or two later, and they're like, holy shit, it's nothing like I thought it was.
Right.
I'm still the same person. My mind is still racing to the future. I'm still concerned about other things. That didn't do anything. And I go, how about that? Like, that's a big epiphany for people when you realize, man, it doesn't matter if you have $1 billion, doesn't matter what's going on. You have to work on being present, and sometimes, and John, this is where I want you to help us out. Clearly being an officer, you go through hard days, different than any other profession, totally different, right? You guys see trauma. You see a lot of times the worst of human beings. You see them doing stuff, hurting other people, or, you've seen children get hurt. And you're like, how the hell am I not supposed to fucking try to run to my retirement? This is hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is really hard. So how do the mental skills help you out with that when you really are facing some heavy shit, that's different than other humans a lot of times,
It's a great question. Leaning into the discomfort, I think, instead of running from it. It's natural for people want to run, like something happens, right? And let's just go to the extreme. Let's say an active shooter. Everybody's running, right? We're running towards it. So just as we run towards it, when the feelings come, you have to lean into it, right? Because if we run from it, what are we doing? It's not being fixed, and it's not. We're not. We're just uncomfortable, right? And if you're constantly in discomfort and you're not working on growing and being in a better place, then it's very easy to say, oh, retirement, look at these benefits. I can't wait. Right. But as we know, this moment is the moment,
Yep.
This is the moment. This is the only moment that we can control.
This is the one. Right. As
one.
we start you off with our, with our second song in our training program, this is the one. And so often in life, the moment can be challenging, but this is a really big one. You said, John, if you run, you never get away.
Yeah.
Like no matter how fast you think you're running, you'll never outrun it. It'll be sitting with you in 20 years. You have to stop and learn to be present with it. And that's the only place to go. And I think what's really cool is officers have already been trained to go towards it, right? You guys go towards the danger.
Right.
So now we're going to do that internally, right? That's what mental training is. Instead of running from this shit, I'm going to lean in, right? This is the victory to the vulnerable, right? This is that process where, feeling vulnerability in this experience is actually a powerful thing, but at the same time, feeling vulnerable, how does that feel? Fucking vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's no way around that. But if you can lean into that, it's like imagine lifting weights, right? And we've talked about this. When you're getting a good workout lifting weights, it hurts, or maybe you feel it, but it's positive. So in this vulnerability, when you feel yourself wanting to run to retirement, but you actually bring yourself back, and maybe it feels a little vulnerable, that's powerful. And that's actually what you're looking for. So it's, you know what I mean? Instead of like, oh, I'll go find it in 10 years when I'm done, you can find it right here. You can find that space right here, but it does require the mental skills. And then this is where I think it requires a good amount of toughness. Are you tougher if you face vulnerability, or are you tougher if you run away from vulnerability? Come on, that's an easy answer, right?
That's an easy answer.
That's an easy answer, right? So everyone, you're not tougher if you run away from vulnerability. If you're a badass, you go feel vulnerability.
Yep.
Right. And that's what always helped me out. You get to feel like a badass doing this, even though it might be a little bit different than what you think being a badass is. When you go face your fears, profound energy comes out of you, like an amazing presence comes out of you. And I didn't want to feel vulnerable, but I just realized that that's the place to go. And I was trying to run in my life. That's how I got into mental training. As a 19-year-old, I was running and running and running, and I couldn't outrun this shit. And then one day I learned to be with it, learned to be present, be vulnerable. And I was like, holy shit, this is fucking it. You know what I mean? And this was back in the late 90s. That's why I have so much conviction in this space. And it's 25 years later, because I know how powerful this shit is.
Yeah.
how I took it to the NBA, to the Navy, to the police officers, to Fortune 100 companies, all that stuff. So I really do think culturally it's important for us to kind of stop and face this stuff. And I think that's important, John, because you guys, you don't run from it, you go towards it. And this is just another way to go towards it. You
Right.
know?
Yeah. And it adds up over time, which is why I think suicide is so high.
Yeah.
Right. Because if we don't acknowledge it, if we constantly push it off, if we constantly mute it, if we constantly, you know, fall back into things like drugs or alcohol or whatever have you, that is no good for us, then that's the outcome. I mean, right? And that's not acceptable. Suicide is never an option. Never in my book. And then that's why I got into this, because I had a coworker commit suicide, and
Mm,
that doesn't sit well with me,
yeah.
and so, leaning into it and saying like, yeah, we have a problem here. But this is something that Americans, people all around the world struggle with. So this isn't
Right.
just
No.
directed at cops, but these are the skills to help
Right.
cops, because we are under pressure all the time,
Yeah.
from citizens, from the bosses, from just situations. I mean, it's a lot, from family members. I mean, there's a high expectation of how we should be and act and just live our lives, and it's challenging, so that's the way I look at it, is like, I'd rather lean into it and sit there with those feelings and choose my response, palms down,
There you go.
right? Respond to it versus react to it, and really work through it. And when you get to the other side, if you have genuine intentions, it feels good, right?
Mm,
Clearly, if we're working with feelings of like insecurity and things that are like, self-sabotage and all that, we're not getting there. This is genuine feeling. This is how I feel. I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to sit here, breathe and be. I'm going to process it.
whew,
Why am I feeling this way? Right. And then we're going to have a conversation. And you know what? Guess what? These conversations, they're never fun. But it just gets easier and easier and easier the more you do it.
that's right. And that's incredible work, John. I'm really grateful you're out there doing this work and leading in this space. It's not easy to be vulnerable, right? Let's be real, right? It's especially because that word has been used as kind of like a negative thing, or someone says vulnerable, like, I don't want to be fucking vulnerable. Fuck, I don't want to feel those feelings, and I totally get that, right? But yet that doesn't work, right? So this like that's a guarantee not to work. Like that's a guarantee to devastate yourself. So it's kind of this is a courageous move. This is a very courageous move, and confidence really is courage in disguise. So I think a lot of people think confidence is I feel amazing all the time. I'm like, that just means you feel amazing. But confidence is I'm willing to go try this out, and I actually don't feel amazing.
Yeah.
That's way more confident than I'll only do it if I feel good.
Yeah.
So there's a real power in allowing yourself to go into the space. This is where the word surrender comes in, right? You go, hey, I'm going to stop running. I'm going to stop. What am I doing? Let me surrender to this and come into this space. And you come into it and you think about our ninth principle. It's you versus you. Only one stopping you from this is yourself.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's you versus you. So this is that moment you look yourself in the mirror and go, what am I running from? You know what I mean? Like, and has it ever worked running away? And maybe I got this from my family. Maybe my father passed this down, or my mother did, or my uncle, like however I was conditioned to kind of think like, hey, vulnerability is not it. There's a whole new way. And we're here to live in that space. So I totally understand that that's scary and that there's a lot of stigmas around that. But yet at the same time, being a leader, right? This is a conscious energy officer. That's the name of our show.
Right.
That means we're aware we're energy. We're conscious of that. And we're an officer. We're a servant of this, right? This is our duty. This is what we do. So that helps me lean into vulnerability when I tell myself I don't have a fucking choice. Because I'm human. If I have a choice, I'll be like, I don't want to go do. Who the hell wants to be vulnerable, right? But at the same time, I want to be successful, and that's where it lies. I want to be good for my family. I want to be good for my wife, my kids. I want to be good for both of you. I want to be good for everyone I coach. And that requires me to lean into that vulnerability. And I say, okay, it's me versus me. I'm fucking winning that. I'm going to let myself feel vulnerable. I'm winning that fucking fight. I'm winning that fucking fight because it's me versus me. And then think about our 13th principle. What's real, what's not, right? This
Right.
is about going into your old belief systems. Is it true that being vulnerable is bad? Fucking no way. That belief system is so outdated. That shit doesn't work. Right? That's like an old school belief system. We got to update that. And
Yep.
John, you mentioned this. So we breathe and be.
Mhm.
We're going to sit in this space and allow ourselves to be a little vulnerable, and we're going to breathe. And you just breathe and you feel the feelings. That's literally the work.
Right.
You know that most of what we're doing is just running away from a feeling. We just don't want to have a feeling.
Yeah.
If you can breathe and be with it, then the next one, right? That means you're building the bridge. That means you're actually building a new platform for yourself. And then 16 is you're writing your own story. So now you've shifted the narrative. You've shifted the story to, no, victory does go to the vulnerable. I know that. Like, how do you think we came up with victory to the vulnerable? We fucking know that shit works.
Right.
Right. But you have to be willing to go in there and experience those feelings a little bit.
Yeah.
Which I understand. That shit's scary. You know?
It is, because your natural thought is you focus on the outcome, right? If I have this vulnerable conversation with this person, the outcome could not go well. It could end, right?
Right.
That's right.
So that's not what we want. We get into relationships in hopes that, maybe one day you do get married, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then that's focusing on just like retirement. You get married and then what?
Right.
You still have the feelings. You still got to work through things. You still got to process things,
Tell it.
and
$100
so,
million today, you still have to deal with that. I'm telling you.
yeah,
If you had $1 billion, I
Right.
worked with a couple billionaires. They'll be like, Graham, it was a cool high for 3 days when I got that money. And then by day 4, it was right back. I'm just me. I got to do my mental health work every day. If I don't do this shit, everything becomes a disaster.
For
It
sure.
doesn't matter what money, none of that matters. Like this work we're teaching is what we do right now, whether you're retired, whether you're here, whatever you're doing, this process needs to be kind of followed on a daily basis, right? That's where the devotion comes in, the commitment to this. Because as soon as you check out from doing this stuff, it's a wrap. You know what I mean? As soon as you're like, I don't care about being president, I don't care about bouncing back with next play speed. It's a done deal. You know what I mean?
And a lot of times when we'll just say police officers do that, you're really not living. When you stop being present, stop being vulnerable, and you're just like, man, I can't wait for another 10 years and I'm done. And you're so fixated on the end goal, you're not living. Like
Yeah.
they're like you're cheating yourself. And I love it when you were like, John, you were saying about being intentional. When we are being, so breathe and be, but when we're being, that is actually an intention. So when you say I am being focused, I am being mindful, I am being present, I am being kind, what is that? That is an intention, right? So when we talk about, because I hear it all the time, like, man, I got 5 more years, I got 10 more years, and they're not living. There's the other paradigm that we see in America, and it's like life is short. We hear that all the time. Life is not short. And Graham sent me this song with Alan Watt, a mystic, and he was talking about this topic, and it's about life is not short. It's short if you want it to be. It'll go by quick, right?
Yeah.
You start focusing on other shit at the very end, and you're like, oh, you wake up and you're 80 years old, and life is going to end pretty soon, and you haven't lived. If you want life to be long, live in the present. That's how you slow down time.
Yeah.
And so when you are being intentional, like you were saying, and also being vulnerable, right? It's really hard to, like, when you're vulnerable, you're being vulnerable. So you're being intentional and vulnerable, right? And you're slowing down time, you're living life. And then when it comes time to the 5 years, 10 years, and you're going to retire, like, you've had a meaningful life up until that point.
That's right.
And I've been there, fellas. When I was in my last job, the last 2 years, I was like, I want this over with. I want to be a mental performance coach. I want to get my master's degree done. I want to go. And all I was doing was fast forwarding when I shouldn't have. And my wife was like, dude, drop this shit in second gear and be present to it. You're making the most money you've ever made. I know it sucks. You don't like some of the people that, in the industry and some other dynamics. The company was great. My manager was great. But I just wanted to run fast to get out of it.
Yeah.
And that's not living.
No.
And that's not
That's
vulnerable.
no, that's anxious, right?
Yeah.
That's like, and this really helped me out. The means are the ends. You know what I mean? And I'll say that again. The means are the ends. So how you go about it right now is how it's going to be whenever it is in the future. There is no, I'm going to fucking check out from the present now, do a bunch of crazy shit, and then in 10 years when I retire, then I'm going to be like present. No, you're going to be a fucking disaster because
Yeah.
you're already checked out. So whenever that moment shows up, you won't even be there for it because you're checked out. So how we go about it today is how it'll be in 10 years anyway, how it'll be in 20 years. The means are the ends. And so we learn to really practice this stuff every day. And Grant, you hit it on the head. I'm right there with you. I mean, think about when you're in high school. What's everyone talking about? Oh, where are you going to go to college? Where are you going? Then you go to college. Oh, what job are you going to get? Then you get a job. Well, when are you going to retire? You know how this works, right? We're just always running to this next thing and claiming we're hardworking and driven and goal setting. And I'm like, man, that's some shitty ass goals. You know what I mean? That's why our goal is to be present, not to run to the end. That's where walk to win came from, right? Everyone is running and they run so fast, but we walk on by when they run out of gas. So either way, you're like, if you're anxiously running somewhere, it's already a loss. And I know that because I've been there 1,000 times.
Right.
That's how I know that. And this is beyond police officer work, even though that's what we're talking about. I think all humans can relate to this. We all feel it. I mean, I started feeling this again when I was like 12 years old. I was like, why are everyone worried about what we're going to do in 4 years? No one's training us to be here. You know what I mean? Like no one's training us to be here. Now we're goal driven. I'm going to get here. Then I got here. Then I got here. And the end of this again is you're going to die. That's where all humans are going. So you don't have to wonder if that's coming for you. It's going to happen. That's okay. But in the meantime, we have to kind of shift that train and get off that anxious anxiety track that's running to retirement. You don't want to run to retirement. That's a loss, right? We want to do the best we can to be here. And I know we probably sound like a broken record at this point saying that, but it's really important that this is like really grounded with everyone, because if you don't become aware of this, you'll just keep running some other place. If I'm not aware of this, I'll just keep, oh yeah, can't wait to make this happen in 5 years. Then we'll get here. And I'm like, be with my wife and kids. Like they're already here right now.
Right.
I'm living my dream from 15 years ago. Why the fuck do I think I'm supposed to be somewhere else?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll talk to NBA players and they'll be like, oh, Graham, this and this. I'll be like, you're 11 years old. Are you living your dream right now? They're like, I'm nailing my dream. I'm like, well, why don't you fucking enjoy it? Why the fuck are you here thinking it's already something else? You know what I mean? Like, we have to really learn how to live. Grant, you said it. We got to learn to live.
Yeah.
We got to learn to live in the now as best we can.
And to jump off that, the big thing about our brains, which is a beautiful thing, is it's constantly adjusting, right? You break your arm, your brain adjusts to it. That's the new norm. You have a broken arm. You're able to live with it, right? But what happens is you get this awesome job. You were so excited when you had that job, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, 5 years later, you're not so excited. Now you're like, oh, I got 20 years until retirement. Or I might go transfer to another police department. Guess what? It's going to be the same.
Same shit's going to be there. You know where to go.
So what I do for me, I go back to how did I feel that experience when I got that call that I was going to be a police officer? How did I feel? It was amazing. I was so excited, emotional, very much so, because it's not an easy job to get,
At all.
And I was so excited. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I was so excited. So it's kind of like you have to check back in and you have to remember those experiences,
Totally.
and reflect and say, oh man, when I got my first raise, and then I could stop buying, the the generic ketchup, and I can get like the real stuff. Yeah.
I can get the Heinz ketchup now. Here we go.
No more debt. Like those were great moments, and right, I don't have any, right? So it's like that's amazing. Those are wins, and it's those wins where you have to remind yourself, like, this is the journey, right? Yeah. It's not about retirement. They can give you the sweetest package when you retire. It doesn't matter. You're going to feel it just like you felt when you first got hired. And guess what? It's going to go away because our brains adapt. They're constantly forever adapting through the good and the bad. So the best way to counteract that is your perception. Be curious of the unknown. I go into every day and I don't know what's going to happen, but I make an intention to be fully present. And I'll say it out loud on my drive in, but that's when I have the most available thought process. And I'll go and I'll be like, all right, I'm going to be fully present today. And then I giggle because I know I won't be, because there's always something that brings you out of the present. And it's like, oh, it's cool. Grace and compassion. That's where these words come back in.
Yeah.
So important, right? You have to have grace and compassion for yourself. When you get out of the present, it's all good. It's all good. Let me get back to the present. Let me get back to that amazing moment. You come back to that moment, be curious of the unknown through the good and the bad. Something crazy happens. Oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. And then guess what? We go back to the present. After that's done, back to the present. We don't sit here and say, I can't believe this happened. What the F? This and that. No. We come back to the present. You did something you shouldn't have done. You said something you shouldn't have said. I forgive myself. No problem. Back to the present. And guess what? Then you're in the moment of what you can control. And then the magic starts happening. Next thing you know, you just draw in all these people, all these things. Life's great. Guess why? Because you're in present.
Come on.
Right?
If you go back to the where it says the journey, you had a little tag on the show of the journey. This is so big, and everyone's heard this before. The journey is the destination, right? Yeah. That's the big one. We're not trying to get somewhere else. We're literally, if I could just be right here, you imagine you're on a surfboard and you're surfing a wave, you just ride it right now. We're not trying to get somewhere else. The journey is the destination, right? That is the whole thing. That's the whole secret. That's the whole epiphany, is wait a second, this is it. Where I'm at right now. Now, are some moments a little more exciting than others? Yes. Are some moments more difficult than others? Yes. But it's always the place to be. Where you are is the place to be.
Yep.
Some of the best advice I ever got, 20 years ago, when I was like, hey, I want to go work in the NBA. My good friend said, well, listen, treat everyone you meet now as if they're already there. Whatever you think you'll fucking do in the NBA, do that right now with kids you meet now. That changed my life. And I was like, oh, I'm not trying to get anywhere else. I'm trying to give it right now. Everything I have right now. And then it all kind of manifested from there. But I wasn't like, oh, I got to get somewhere else, then it'll be cool. It's like, no, it's cool right now. Who's in front of me? This 11-year-old kid. I'm going to teach this 11-year-old kid. That 11-year-old kid ended up being Aaron Gordon, who's now 27 years old, kicking ass for the Denver fucking Nuggets. And I was like, whoa, just by learning to be present and not trying to get to an NBA player, they were in front of me already in child form.
Wow.
Because I didn't miss that. The journey was the destination. I was fully engaged, so that you do have to practice this. And I want everyone out there practicing this. Hey, where you are right now is the place you want to be. There's nowhere else to go. So put everything you have into right now. Right there's the next place be. Just keep coming back. Keep coming back. And if you're like, I don't want to be here. Hey, let's try our best. Let's do our palms down, right? Let's try our best, because the only one stopping you from this is it's just yourself, right?
Yep.
So I think as we start to wrap this show up, that's the really important part. The journey is the destination. We've got to bring ourselves back to the present. Like John, you're doing so amazing practicing. You too, Grant. All of us are here practicing. And everyone watching this, know all of us are practicing this. When we talk about it, it's not like we're fucking perfect at this at all. Us three are trying our fucking best, right? We struggle through it. We have some days that are gut-wrenching. We have some other days that just seem like a walk in the park. That's how it is. Right?
Yeah.
That's literally how it goes. But we're all in here working, doing our best. But Grant, you said it. Set your intention. Set your intention to do this. Set your intention to recognize the journey is the destination. Don't try to get to the end. When I sense people doing that, I'll ask them, do you want to know the day you're going to die? And they all say, oh, no. I'm like, well, where the fuck you going then? Come back, because the end of this is that. The end of this human experience is you die. And that's, like I said, all humans are going to go through it. Doesn't matter who you are. Everyone's going to go through it. Every great person on this earth, they went through it.
Yep.
So
you know what helps off that? I say shift your perception. So my perception of every day is a lifetime. Right? Look at every day as a lifetime. And when you do that, it's easier to forgive yourself. It's easier to have grace and compassion and say, you know what? Fucked up today, but it's okay. Tomorrow's a new day. And guess what? When tomorrow comes, it's today. So
that's right.
And that's when we're present.
That one always gets me. It's always today.
It's always today.
Always
right?
Today.
So, and also with the wins, when it comes with that, you had a great day. So grateful for today. But guess what? Tomorrow comes. It's a new lifetime.
Come
So
on.
let's start it. Right.
And we got Grant and I, so we have this 16-week course that we're going to be kicking off real soon here with all you officers. And we're inviting everyone to do this 16-week course. It's where we lay out the whole foundation, all these skills. We're already working on the next 16 weeks course and the third 16-week course. The middle 16-week course is a 1-day contract. It's just about learning to do it today. All the skills we teach you in the first 16 weeks, the next 16, you learn how to actually just do it today. Because the truth is, none of us know if we'll be alive tomorrow. And that's not a police officer thing. That's everybody, right? That's everybody. And that's the truth. None of us know what's going to happen. And so that sense, if we're lucky enough to wake up today, it's a 1-day contract today. Let's do it today. And if we wake up tomorrow, let's fucking do that shit again tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's how I try to embrace the journey is the destination. I'm not trying to get anywhere. I'm trying to be full power here.
Mm-hmm.
And just bringing us back to success and winning. I'm a performance coach, right? We all are. We're not here bullshitting. We're trying to win. This shit wins.
Yep.
This isn't like a fucking joke. This shit wins in whatever you're doing. Like this shit works. And it can work for you. It works for everyone, but you got to apply it. You got to try.
Yep. And we've said this many times on the show and also on our other show, Graham, but if today is going to be great, let it be great. If today's going to be shitty, let it be shitty. Either way, I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
Like that's real.
It's real, man. Like, and if you're good with the good and the bad, man, you're still living. But if you're not good with the bad, because that's the rub, right? It's easy to go with the good.
Come on.
That's if you're good with having bad days and bad moments,
come on.
You're okay, dude. That's living.
It's they call having a good shitty day.
Yeah.
We all have shitty days, but you make it a shitty day, or you go, it's a shitty day, but you know what? It's gonna be a good shitty day. So we're not saying everything is perfect, right? No, there's shitty ass days.
Yeah.
But can it be a good shitty day? And that one and that's a sports thing, right? Because in sports, you're getting your ass whooped all the time. You have an opponent consciously trying to kick your ass. And some days you're going to have shitty days, but can it be a good shitty day? And that means I'm still present during the shitty day. I'm still here, still doing it. Even if I get my ass kicked, I'm still here. A bad shitty day is you bail on all these mental skills. You bail on all of it and snowballs out of control, and then you're gone.
Yep.
So,
well, and let's, just to jump off that, and then we can wrap it up.
That sounds great.
Just think about it, is what constitutes a bad day? 1 or 2 bad things happened. Is that a bad day? What about all the other 100 things that went perfect? That we don't acknowledge because that's the norm, right? We woke up. It should already be a great day.
Hey, you know what? Here's the deal. You
never
have a bad day. You can choose to have a bad day, but you never do. You have a bad moment. That's it. Yeah. If we're being present, they're just moments.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's real. That's real.
Yeah.
Listen, let's break on that note. Another great show. The journey is the destination, everyone. John, great topic today. I feel like we could talk about this for probably like 10 hours. This is like, maybe we bring it up again next week. We kind of keep this rolling a little bit because this is really big. And I know a lot of us, we get caught up in trying to be somewhere else all the time, So thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're proud of you, all you officers. We love you. We're so grateful to do this work with you. So honored to do this work with you. Can't wait for you to come join our first class. And we're in January, so I'm thinking this is happening soon here. We'll be getting this kicked off. So stay tuned in. John, Grant, great job today, everyone. We'll see you next week.
All right.